Here we are. We are gonna try this again. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another live stream. Welcome to Thursday. Am I even live yet? It says live in 15 seconds. No. Are we live? Oh, I'll assume that we're live. All right, cool. All right, so happy Thirsty Thursday, everybody. I see a few of you guys here in chat. Some of my good buddies here. I see Randall the Express. The Express was early tonight. Appreciate that. Always good to see you, Randall. I see Roger Reese, my buddy. The world's worst bourbon channel. What's going on, Gary? How are you? So this evening we've got take two of our scheduled stream with Jacob from Coming Whiskey, and I'm glad that he decided to give this another shot. And for those of you that might remember, last month we had this set up and the stream kind of crashed and burned within the first probably 5 or 8 minutes. And we were using a different streaming software, couldn't get it back up and going. Then we had internet issues. It was just a mess. So it didn't go very long. And Jacob's been kind enough to reschedule with us because I'm happy that he's doing it because it's somebody who I think is really interesting, who I'm excited to have a conversation with. And let's get into it. Jacob, let's bring you on stage here.
Good evening.
There he is. And like I said, Jacob, thanks again for coming back, trying to do this again. And
Hey, happy to do it. Like I said, any chance that I can talk to someone else about whiskey, give my wife the night off hearing about it, I think she's always happy about that.
You give her the evening off from having to listen to you?
Yes, absolutely. So she sends her thank yous.
All right. So how I became aware of you is definitely first through the Instagram account, and I haven't been on Instagram for a terribly long time. I know some people have been on there for forever. I started my Instagram channel or account about the same time I started the YouTube channel, which was about 3 years ago coming up. And yours was definitely one of the first accounts that I noticed. And I think it's an essential account for any whiskey head to follow. And not to steal your thunder here, but what you do is follow the TTB, which is where all of the whiskey brands have to have their labels approved. And you pick out the most interesting ones, things that stick out to you, or everything. Yeah. What's kind of the process there?
So all right, so the TTB, it's a branch of the federal government, the Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau. One of the many things that the TTB does is they have many functions. But one of them is that any beverage alcohol label that's going to be sold in the United States, domestic or imported, that's beer, wine, whiskey, Boone's Farm, whatever. Those labels have to be submitted to the TTB, and the TTB looks at them and makes sure that things that have to be on the label, that they're on the label, and that things that can't legally be on the label, that they're not. It is just a couple of people looking at them, and then once the label is approved, it gets posted to a free public domain website that looks like it was built in the 1990s. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy, it looks like a 1990s website that is not user-friendly. You don't end up there by accident, and if you do end up there, it's difficult to figure it out.
Okay.
How to navigate it. So I go through each morning, usually about 4:45 in the morning when I'm walking my dog in pitch black.
Okay, so you have a process. It's every morning that you're checking this.
Yeah, I roll out of bed. I'm holding my dog leash in one hand and holding my phone in the other, trying not to drop my phone in the dark. Hope my dog doesn't run me into something in the dark. I search the American whiskey labels and things that I think are interesting and things that I hope you will find interesting.
Okay.
Big brands and little brands. I download those labels and post it to Instagram. Most of it ends up on Facebook as well. Some are big, sexy ones. Some not as much, but I still think they're interesting and they deserve exposure.
Yeah, I was definitely curious about the process. What piques your interest, and certainly the bigger brands like your Jack Daniels, But then I have noticed that there are some smaller brands that do happen to catch your attention, maybe more than some others. And then anything that's really goofy or out there seems to be something that piques your interest as well.
And it is subjective. I mean, if there's a
Sure.
2-year-old bourbon distilled in Montana, like I'm probably not going to post that because, I mean, be honest, I don't think anyone cares.
Hmm.
Or if we get some sourced bourbon that is 6 years old from Kentucky from some unknown entity and we don't get any other details about it and there's nothing interesting or distinctive about it, what's the point? So I don't post those either. So things that are innovative, noteworthy, slightly curious, that's what I want people to see.
Or how about sometimes something just catches your eye, like it's a cool looking label?
Yeah, I mean, and there are times I'll see some artwork and I'm like, okay, I like the artwork. And then there are times that things aren't particularly interesting, but like the artwork is just terrible. And sometimes I'll post things almost to kind of like poke fun at it a little bit, just like what are we doing here? But it is subjective. Now, with that, if a brand reaches out to me and says, "Hey, will you post our label?" and I didn't choose to post it, I have always posted those. So, if I for whatever reason didn't post and they reach out directly, yeah,
Mhm.
I'll post it. Sure.
So, how did you start with that idea? I mean, was your did you have that idea and then start the Instagram account, or
So
how did that
let's
kind of begin? How did you
all
hatch
right.
that idea?
So it when I got into this whole hobby, I knew nothing, picked up a book, a Clay Eisen book, and I fell in love with books about bourbon and then American alcohol history in general, so that I ended up going to Twitter, and I had the idea that I was going to live tweet all of my books, interesting things that I personally learned from my books. I put
Mhm.
it on Twitter, trying to how to word that in tweetable form, and I don't know if he's still active or not, but there was a Twitter account called Skew Eats, and he was kind of a version of what I do now, but he would download like the heavy hitters, like the
Mhm.
big labels everyone goes crazy about whenever they came up, and he would post those to Twitter, and people thought it was cool. So I kind of reached out, like, teach me how do where do you get this? How do I do this?
Mhm.
So he kind of helped me through it. And early on, it was just more my interest. Me being a geek, like what's coming, what's fascinating. And then I would see some cool ones. I'd share it with my buddies through text message. And then when the Weller single barrel label hit, I posted it to a Facebook whiskey group, and
Mhm.
people went crazy over it.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, maybe people outside of me and my buddies are interested in this. Let's
So I mean,
let's
that is kind of one thing that we have in common, like through all the different whiskey groups, is we're all interested in what's coming out next, what's
yeah,
coming down the line, what's coming out next week, next month.
yeah.
So it
So
is.
I put it on Instagram. I reached out to the Bourbon Lens podcast. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, yeah, go for it. They were the pat on the back that got me going. It was a Sagamore Calvados finish, and that would have been early February 2020. And it turns out people do find it interesting. So more than I ever anticipated.
Yeah, like I said, it's almost like a reference, section to a library, like following your account. I have to know these things. But then maybe over I would say the last couple of years that I've been following, there's definitely been some more personal stuff. Like
Yeah.
you're here, you're doing the pick, you're at a
Mhm.
distillery. It's more, Jacob, and not just a label. So,
So the first 2.5, 3 years, it was nothing but labels, and it was completely anonymous. My name was not attached to it. Face was not attached. A couple of my local friends, they knew who ran it, but it was completely anonymous, and I was fine with that. And then a couple of years ago, Ari Sussman, one of the big blender in the game, but also is involved with a tech company called Mash Networks, reached out about
mhm,
me opening like an online DTC store. And he kind of said, if you're going to do this, it might help to kind of come out of the shadows, put a name and a face to your account.
yeah,
So for that purpose, decided I would do it. Started posting, well, put my name and my face, and I like doing bourbon photography. I like doing distillery tours, and I photographed those. So I decided I would start putting that on there, and then got into doing the whiskey reviews. So the account has definitely evolved in the type of content since it was founded in early February 2020.
All right. So here's something I'm curious about. So you start the account with the idea that here's what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so say on a given day, okay, so you've reviewed the TTB site. How much time are you really spending parsing the site?
This morning, 5
Like an
minutes.
average day.
I mean, on an average day, no more than 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. So it's quick.
I
You
mean,
got it down to a science.
now, yeah, I mean, once you know what you're doing,
Mhm.
like it's really quick. Now, I mean, if there are mornings when there's like one label that's worth downloading, I'm literally there like 2 minutes. If it's a morning that I get like 8 labels, that's interesting, 10, 15 minutes tops.
Okay.
Then I take a few minutes to use an app on my phone to format the labels for Instagram size. A lot of those labels, they're bigger than what the Instagram box allows.
So you're not just downloading a label, you do have to kind of alter the file, play around with the
Yeah,
logo.
well, I mean, I've got a photo editor app on my phone that just resizes them so that
okay.
it fits the Instagram like square.
Yeah, because they do kind of have a uniform look to them.
Yeah.
Uh,
So do that, and then it's just most of the time, and I kind of load them all into the drafts on Instagram. Do it in the morning, so that throughout the day, all I have to do is just hit post, so that I'm not having to type everything out at random times throughout the day. I'm usually doing all that. Um, my kids are still asleep. That's my time in the morning. Get all the Instagram stuff primed. I mean,
okay.
total, I may spend 30 minutes a day
Wow.
doing
Okay.
that.
That's impressive because you do have to invest the time and you do have to be consistent in order to have any kind of growth. And so you've really had the discipline to keep doing that for a good bit, right? We're
Yeah,
talking
it's been over
years.
6 years, just over 6 years now.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. And um, I think with subscribers was like 30 some thousand, I think the last
I
time I
think
looked.
it's over 33 now. About a
All
little
right.
over 33,000.
So how long would you say it took you before, from when you started posting the labels, before you really got noticed and you were getting maybe contacted by brands and people that
Um,
you
I'm gonna
things
say
going.
it was about a year in, and I can tell you the first person who reached out to me about realizing that I had some utility was Seth Bainheim. At the time, he was doing Broken Barrel whiskey. He's moved on to a few other things now, like Mainland Rum.
Okay.
But he sent me a message that, hey, Broken Barrel, we're getting ready to roll out some new labels. I want you to post them, but can you wait for me to announce them first? And if you do, I'll send you a bottle of all of it.
Okay.
So he realized coordinating with me to announce it was potentially an interesting idea.
Hmm.
And so he was the first person in the industry to reach out to me about any kind of use for it. Um, and then I said it just started growing slowly. And then, every now and then I'll have these days where I look up and I pick up like 200 followers in one day. And it's like, okay, so what's going on here? Some podcast, YouTube channel, someone has mentioned this account and is trying to figure out, where
Right.
this influx is coming from.
Right. That's cool. So the first guy that reaches out, he says he's going to send you a bottle, but you're like, oh my goodness, I'm getting a
I
bottle.
mean, yeah, I mean, and one I know at the time, Broken Barrel, they were sourcing their bourbon from Green River, where in
Mhm.
my town, so
Okay.
that was a little extra exciting. That it was local bourbon. Wasn't real old stuff, but that was part of his process with his interesting barrel finishing technique. But yeah, I'm super geeked out about it. I mean, I wasn't expecting that at all. Um,
Yeah. So that's a big moment. And how long after that is it that you're being inundated um, with all the other?
uh, I don't,
Is it
I
a
don't know.
slow roll or is it kind of everything just kind of
I
burst?
feel like it was a pretty slow roll. And every now and then, you know, there's a day when I'll pick, or the time where it ebbs and flows,
Hmm.
where I'll pick up a few followers, and then there are times when all of a sudden it's like, oh, like in a month I picked up like 1,000 people, and it just, and honestly, a lot of it I'm at the mercy of what the TTV gives me. The day that I posted the Maker's Mark seller series, like that was like 600 followers in one day. That
Hmm.
doesn't happen.
Well, what I mean is, how long after somebody sends you a bottle before some of the other brands catch on and they're like, okay, well, let's send something to this dude.
uh,
Let's send him some samples or send him this or
it was slow.
okay.
Um, it was slow, and then there were a few brands that I reached out to that I had a personal interest in,
Hmm.
and they sent them and did the review, and then from there, yeah, brands did start reaching out more. Um, I have cut back on what I work with. There were a couple of years where my backlog at any point in time was like 40 things to review,
Oh my,
and like that's overwhelming, takes all the fun out of it. So I definitely
it becomes
stepped back.
more like a job. Um,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So here's another thing that I'm curious about. So, I knew you at first from the Instagram, and it wasn't
Mhm.
until much later, much I would say probably within the last 6 months, maybe even the last year, that I realized that you also write
Mhm.
reviews for a site called Drink Hacker.
Mhm. That's right.
And how long have you been doing that?
I signed with Drink Hacker in April of 2024, so a little
Okay,
over 2 years
it's
now,
coming up
or
on 2 years.
no, almost 2 years.
All right. So did they discover you from that account or from some other?
Uh, yes and no. So when I was doing all the book stuff on Twitter, uh, the guy who ran Malt Review, which is a website that I guess has since kind of shut down,
Okay.
he asked if I would like to do some reviews of bourbon books or booze books, and then
Hmm.
he said, "Sure, toss in some whiskey reviews with it." So I did that, and I did that off and on for a while, and then when Malt Review shut down, the editor, Chris Knoll for Drink Hacker, reached out and said, "Hey, I hear you're available now. If
Hmm.
you're still looking to write, come join us." So I did. And it's been great. I like history. I like books. Instagram isn't the place to go ham on all the nitty gritty details,
No,
which is
it's
what
like,
I like.
here's a picture, here's something interesting, and maybe a quick squib. But it does, your reviews on Drink Hacker, the ones that I read. I mean, I wouldn't say they're super long, but they're also not, conducive to an Instagram post either.
Right.
It's somewhere in between. It maybe
Yeah.
like, how would you describe it? Maybe like a longer essay type of.
So, I mean, typically I try to keep most of them below 1,000 words. Most of them are ranging in the 600 to 1,000 word range. A few of them have gone over 1,000 words, but you know, I like telling stories with the review. There have been very few things I've done for Drink Hacker where it's just straight. Here's the whiskey. Here's the tasting notes. Um, I like telling stories. That's from all the books that I read. I like the history. I want to tell a historical story to go with the whiskey. So
Right.
Drink Hacker gives me a chance to do that.
Okay. Now, I mean, do you know how many reviews you've written for Drink Hacker? It looked like a lot. I was trying to scroll through,
Um, I
but it's
looked a couple of weeks ago, and it was more than 250.
okay. So it is a lot.
I think I average at least 8 a month usually. That's probably my average.
All right. So figure a couple a week. Um, how many hours would you say you're spending writing?
It all depends. You know, a lot of the ideas, like a lot of the stories I tell and whatnot, I kind of have from the books I've read. I've got history in my mind.
Okay.
I've got a story that I want to tell, and then it's kind of going back and making sure my details are right. It's kind of an outline. Here's the story I want to tell, and then going back and making sure dates are right, making sure the facts are right to kind of fill in those spaces. I probably spend at least a good 2 hours on each of them
Hmm.
between the tasting notes and the actually sitting down to write and making sure it flows, making sure it's not choppy. Because I want the reading to feel good as much as it is accurate.
Hmm. Um, and I guess I'm just curious. Did is this like a full-time thing with them, or they just pay you by the review, or
So I get paid by the review, and I do get paid. It ain't much, but malt review I wasn't getting paid at all. So I kind of look at it as I am getting paid something for my time.
Mhm.
But for me, and again, it's very little, but it's something. This is fun for me. I
Well,
enjoy
yeah, I mean,
telling stories, and yeah, it's an outlet for me.
yeah, and it doesn't hurt to make a couple of bucks, doing something that you love that doesn't feel like work, I suspect, right?
Sure, and
Uh,
and for years, like I felt like all these books that I've read, I crammed a lot of knowledge into my head, and it's like, well, what do I do with that? Twitter was the space for that for a while, and then Twitter kind of crashed and burned, and um,
Now,
this
when
is
you
an
say you
outlet
were
for that.
posting to Twitter, were these books that you were interested in at the time or in reading, or they were books that you had written?
No, no, they were all books that I was reading. I have
Okay,
not written
gotcha.
my own book yet,
Okay, because that was
but
one of the things I was gonna ask you is have you written your own book yet?
no, and some I get that question a lot, and I would really have to figure out what's it going to be about. Um, to date, I think I'm currently reading like it's like book 517. I've read an ungodly number, and a lot of the books they are kind of rehashing of the same thing over the same story. So if I ever do write one, I have to figure out what is not going to be a rehashing of a story that's already been told in 10 other books.
Right, and I think that's gotta be the challenge, right?
Sure,
Now, I thought this was an interesting, tidbit. I think I had when we were kinda emailing back and forth the last, 6 weeks or so, I asked you kinda how you got into this hobby, and I think that you had a really interesting, response,
sure.
and I think I might have seen it on one of your posts at some point during,
Mhm.
uh, the time that I watched the account, but you wanna just speak on that real quick?
Sure. So my father passed away from cancer in 1992. I was 10 years old at the time. Um, maybe I kind of lost track of time. I want to say maybe about 8 years ago, maybe it was 9 years ago. My mother said I was at her house, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I saved the last bottle of bourbon that your dad opened before he died." I was a craft beer drinker really at the time. Wasn't really heavy into whiskey yet. But when my mom offers me this three-fourths full bottle of Maker's Mark, which at the time that was some top shelf stuff that my dad opened probably in 1992, shared a glass with a friend before he died. I'm holding that in my hand.
Mhm,
It made me feel really connected to him. And I took a glass of it, or not a glass, I took a taste of it, and it was still good.
mhm,
And it was this connection to my dad decades after he died.
mhm.
I did decide that I was going to put that bottle back until my twin sons turned 21. And on their 21st birthday, I'm going to share a glass of their grandpa's bourbon with them. My sons, they're almost 14. So I got a
Okay.
couple more years to go. Um, but decades after his death, I felt connected to my dad through that bottle of Maker's Mark. I realized that I really knew nothing about bourbon. And as a Kentuckian, that wasn't okay. And I wanted to be connected to my
Sacrilege.
dad. So I picked up a book, and one book turned into another one, and it's all kind of spiraled. But it started as a way to connect with my dad decades after he died.
Yeah, I just think that's the coolest story, and that's what kinda you tugged at that thread and now look where you are. Way down the rabbit
I
hole.
mean, I'm sure my dad is, laughing about it, and but yeah, that's definitely the origin. It's a way to connect with my dad, and that bottle is still sitting on my shelf, and I'm not gonna touch it until my kids turn 21.
Yeah, it's like an heirloom. It's a piece of history, and that's so cool. So that gets you down the rabbit hole. Um, Now, here's a question for you. So, you are in Western Kentucky
Mhm.
and
Owensboro.
Owensboro. Now, those of us that the whiskey nerds know that there's a pretty big distillery down there, right?
Green River. Yep, I'm about 10 minutes away.
So, at what point in your your whiskey journey did you realize that you had Green River in your backyard? Because I mean, you start with Maker's Mark. That's a little ways away. I'm assuming you
Mm-hmm.
have at some point been to Maker's
Mm-hmm.
Mark. But when did you discover that in your backyard there was this distillery that?
Well, let's see. I was at work in 2014. An article came out saying that the shuttered Medley Distillery had been purchased by Terracentia in North Charleston, South Carolina, and that they were going to dump a bunch of money into this shuttered distillery and bring it back to life. So I remember where I was, oddly, when I read the news article saying that they were going to bring it back and they were going to call it OZ Tyler. And I was excited because this was in the early days and when my interest in whiskey. And I just remember thinking, like, I hope this is really good. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, because you want it to be good since it's in your, it's your home, your home field, I guess, so to speak. But
yeah,
so when you you're rooting for Green River, right? So there's probably an inherent bias. Would you agree, or
there is, which is also why I feel like Drink Hacker, I haven't reviewed anything branded by Green River. I'll do it for Instagram.
Stay away from that.
Yeah, I mean, I realize that I have bias. I mean, I absolutely, and so that's why I have chosen when these media samples come that I don't do it for Drink Hacker because I know there's bias.
Okay.
And early on, I don't know if you ever had the misfortune of trying the first release of OZ Tyler bourbon and rye whiskey. It was 1-year-old stuff with this rapid aging TerraPure. I mean, it was god-awful stuff. It was terrible. And me wanting my hometown to be great, like, oh, crap. Like, what are we doing here? But then I remember a couple years later, they sent out these, it was a media sample, but I wasn't really media yet, but someone got me one. 3.75 year, just regular bourbon at cask strength. And it was like, oh, we're good. Like, they're getting rid of this rapid aging crap.
Mm-hmm.
This is essentially 4-year bourbon. We're in business. We're going to be okay. And it's been full steam ahead since then.
Yeah, they really have picked up steam, especially the last couple of years in particular. At least, kind of in my area here specifically. It seems like last year there were just Green River picks in every group. I know they source a lot to different places, NDPs. And there's a reason.
A lot of mash bills too.
So they've really gotten pretty big and pretty well respected in a relatively short period of time. Do you happen to have a favorite product that Green River does?
So I'll say of the core products, the wheated bourbon was definitely my number 4 at the 90 proof. Mm-hmm. But when you get those single barrels at cask strength, I think the wheated is my favorite. I'm not a proof chaser. The standard rye at 95 proof, I love. The standard bourbon at 90 proof, I love. I do like the wheated bourbon at 90 proof. It's my least favorite of the core. Okay. But I feel like their wheated bourbon does especially well at the higher proof, and I love it.
Yeah, I have a single barrel of the wheated from last year. It was some store down in Kentucky that a friend of mine sent, and yeah, it's really good. I was excited to see that they're doing the full proof wheated. I just haven't seen that local yet. But yeah, I think the full proof bourbon and the single barrel bourbons are what are my favorite. Yep. And while I'm yammering on here, I did send Jacob a handful of samples. And in the past, when I've had guests, we would do like a game or something, and rank them or try to guess them, or guess the mash bills, guess the state. And I didn't really want to do that with Jacob. I more or less wanted to do more of an interview type of a stream here today. But I did send you some samples, and been trying to figure out what to send a guy that has so many reviews out there, access to just about everything. It was a bit of a challenge trying to figure out what the hell am I going to send this guy to drink that he doesn't have on his shelf. So I think I figured out a way. I'm not going to tell you just yet, but um, of the samples I sent you, if you just want to sip a little bit in the background and make a note which one you like the best, we'll talk a little bit towards the end of the stream what they are. And we did backstage, share a few sips of number 4, which we talked about for a little bit. But if you want to go to like number 1, just as we're kind of talking here, and jot down your thoughts. Again, we're not trying to guess mash bills or age or proof or anything. I'm just trying to figure out, do you like this one better than the last one, better than the last one? What's the order that you like these? And then,
All right.
as we get towards the end, I'll tell you what they are. And like I said, I think some of these may seem familiar because they're not too far removed from things that I know that you've had. But there might be a couple in there that you really don't have any ties to. So I'm curious to see how this kind of shakes out.
I think number one seems awfully familiar.
Okay. All right. Angry Irish Mac, how you doing, buddy? We got Top Dog here. Let's see. Off topic whiskey. I still want to call you the whiskey shaman, Randall. It's kind of ingrained in my head. We've got William Hall. What's going on, William? We've got Trey Larkin. What's going on, buddy? Fritzy is in the house. What's going on, buddy? All right. And then Randall says, yep, the Weeda cast string single barrel is very good. I think Randall might have the same one that I got last year. There he is. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Whiskey Nose. That is my buddy Marty. What's going on? Hey, we've got K Brock 1224. I believe that's Kevin, one of our newer Patreon members. What's going on, Kevin? All right. So I appreciate you guys joining in, and everybody that's watching, listening to me, kind of fanboy over, Jacob and his journey here. Appreciate you guys hanging out here. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. All right. So you poured a little bit of number 1, and you said that's something that.
Yeah. It's sweet on the nose, sweet on the palate. I like that a lot. Feel higher proof. Yeah, I like that a lot. I feel like that might be a wheated bourbon, possibly.
Okay.
I feel like it could be. That is something that I would definitely love to have a bottle of. Feel like I might have a bottle of something similar to that. But yeah, whatever that is, I like it, and I would happily drink that and share it with friends. Absolutely.
All right. So as far as bottles that you have that you go to, and we were talking a little bit backstage, you're doing all the reviews, and you're having to jot down your notes and you write stories, and it almost feels a little bit like work. But what's something that you might reach for when you don't want to think about it? You just want to maybe have a pour at the end of the night, and you're not worried about picking out a couple of notes. You just want to, relax. What's something you reach for?
Honestly, on nights when I just want to watch sports or not think.
There you
go. I do reach for a lot of my Green River stuff. They are local. I legitimately love what they do. It's it helps that I think it's great whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
One that I've been going to lately, which is also Green River though, is this Western Kentucky Distilling. This is where Jacob Call went when he left Green River. And it's fun. So this was, I actually got to help do the single barrel for an event in Owensboro last year. But, he's bottling whiskey that he distilled in Owensboro. He's actively distilling now as well. And that whiskey's about 2.5 years old. But, I do reach for Green River stuff quite a bit. Just, I like it.
So that one, WKY, that's Western Kentucky. That's,
yep.
How close is that relative to you?
30 minutes. So it's in Owensboro's in Davis County. This is in Ohio County. So I always like to make the joke, can you really call it Kentucky bourbon if it's aged in Ohio County? But yeah, 30 minutes away, and it's a pretty good sized distillery. Doing contract distilling. They don't really have their own brands yet other than this, and this is not distributed other than like single barrel store selections. A store has to seek this out. There is no shelfie at this point.
Now, I did actually try a bottle. I don't think it's that one that's in your hand, um, but it was one that I think you might have had a hand in picking.
Brandon's?
Yes.
Yep.
Um,
So that was a fun one. So went with Brandon to do it, and they rolled out four. It was only 4 barrels that day. 4 barrels. Yeah, that might have been more. And we were evenly split on the top two. The one we ended up picking was my favorite, but Jacob Call broke the tie. So the barrel that Brandon Whiskey Weather, he released, Jacob Call broke the tie. He didn't hesitate either. But the runner up was also very good. So Brandon bought that one as well. It's not out yet, but we have two from that day that are coming. I'm not sure when he's going to drop it, but it's coming. And the one you have, it was over 7 years old.
I don't have it. That's the thing. I passed on the pick because I'm in a bunch of groups and I'm trying to be responsible about how many I'm getting here and there. That was one I was like, yeah, maybe I'll pass. But my buddy Toby, Top Jimmy, if he's in the chat, had brought it when we actually went down to Kentucky earlier this year to pick at New Riff, and we actually cracked it together. I think he brought the bottle. I don't think he had even opened it yet, if I'm not mistaken. But I was very pleasantly surprised with how good it was, and I think he was as well. I think Roger Reese, if he's here, he might have had a little bit of that as well, if he can kind of back me up. But I was surprised at how much I liked it, kind of kicked myself for not picking it up. And so when there's that the next one release, I will be paying closer attention.
Well, there's another one coming.
Yeah. So, one of the things, there's so many things I want to ask you. And I feel like my head's kind of swimming in all these different ponds right now. But one of the things that I definitely wanted to get to was, what are the big labels? What are the big drops that we're gonna see this year as whiskey nerds? Ones that you think are going to be the biggest amongst the community as a whole, and maybe ones that you are looking forward to most personally.
I think we know it's coming. It's the Wild Turkey 16-year revival of the Cheesy Gold Foil. I think that is one that people are going to be really excited about. With that whole branding, I think that's going to be really exciting. The Four Roses anthology, I think that's going to be something that, come on. If 21 years, a 21-year age statement, I believe.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be some absolutely ridiculous stuff to come out.
And if I know the Wild Turkey Limited stuff, that one's going to have an insane asking price, and likely the Four Roses as well. Let's be honest. Any others that maybe stick out?
I'm trying to think what all. Oh, okay. One that is especially interesting to me, and I think people will be excited. A couple weeks ago, I posted. It will be the first age stated Green River. It is a 8-year toasted Green River. It looks like it's only being sold in 375 milliliter bottles. I'm assuming it's going to be a gift shop exclusive. I'm going to guess. But it will be the first Green River to bear an age statement, and it's going to be 8 years old.
That's exciting.
Now, what I'm intrigued about, though, is I talked to Dan Calloway at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival 2 summers ago and was kind of asking, are we going to see any finished Green River? And at that time, it was an emphatic no. He said, no, our goal for Green River is just crank out as much well-aged whiskey as we can. Let Bardstown Bourbon do all the finishing. So, I also posted a label for Green River with honey in it recently, and now we get this toasted barrel finish. I'm intrigued because that's definitely a detour from what Dan Calloway emphatically told me 2 summers ago.
Okay. Yeah, there are, brands that, I guess you'd call them purists or whatever, that just won't do anything finished. And that's fine. And there's brands that like to experiment and play around and come up with wild ideas. And sometimes that really works out. but sometimes it's terrible. So I guess it's hit and miss. It all depends on, I guess, what interests you. Personally, I like trying the goofy stuff, the experimental stuff. Some people do it really well. There's other brands that maybe don't, but the finished stuff is a way to kind of keep innovating when things might get a little stale for certain brands. Um, Looks like I kind of got lapped here on the chat. What's going on, Paul?
Those Hemingway rye picks are amazing. Whoever it was, so they had those. Those are great.
I have not seen any Green River rye picks.
Or no, Hemingway rye. Yeah, Hemingway. Which Hemingway right now it's a blend of MGP 95.5 and Green River 95.5.
Okay.
With the finished in the Papas Pilar rum barrels, and it's great.
Now that's interesting because aren't the Papas Pilar rums actually rums that were aged in bourbon barrels to begin with?
Bourbon and sherry. They are, yeah, they're sherry barrels. Well, they do both, but these are aged or finished in the sherry rum barrels from Florida. But that's where Jacob Call's dad had been at Papas Pilar in Florida. So there is a connection to it, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you don't know what the heck we're talking about, if you want to kind of venture into rums, try Papas Pilar. That's what I would call a bourbon drinker's rum, specifically the ones that are aged in the ex-bourbon casks.
So some fun trivia. So we're talking about Jacob Call. This is something that I like sharing with people, and maybe people find it interesting. Is that there is actually a Jacob Call, a Call family connection to Malort. I'm assuming you all right. So Malort left Chicago and they moved operations to Medley Distillery, which is Owensboro, which is now Green River. In 1987, two batches in November of 1987, two batches of Malort were fully made in Owensboro at what is now Green River Distilling. When Malort left Owensboro, they went to Florida Distillers, which is Ron Call, Jacob Call's dad. I thought it was kind of funny that now Jacob Call ended up in Owensboro as the distiller there. It's the whole Call family Malort connection to Owensboro. I just thought that was fascinating.
Right. I've never actually tried Malort. I've heard of it certainly, and I know people goof on it a bit, but I've never actually tried it. So one of these days, at some point, I suppose I'll give it a shot. All right, so one was familiar. You like it. Maybe you're thinking it could be something weeded, but yeah, dug it.
All right. Two is really interesting. I'm trying to figure out what I'm. It's kind of a funky taste to it. It's not bad. It's just I'm trying to put my finger on what I'm tasting. Definitely a dense mouthfeel. I feel like you might have thrown a curveball in there that I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Now, I'll tell you this. I don't think that you've had this one yet.
I definitely know I've not had this one. That is a profile. Whatever number 2 is, I have not tasted that profile.
Okay.
Still trying to figure out if I like it or not.
Okay.
The better thing is if I had a bottle, is it a bottle that I'm giving away or one that I'm going to keep and go back to? It's definitely
for the purposes of what we're doing, do you like it better than or not than the first one?
So far, I've tasted 1, 2. I'm tasting 3 now, and I've tasted 4.
Okay.
Number 1 has definitely been my favorite, heads and tails, above any of the 4 I've tasted so far.
Okay. So you right now have 3. Are you on number 3?
I have number 3 in my glass right now.
Okay. All right. So that one, I'm curious as to your feedback on that one.
Number 3 is definitely the driest I've had so far. I'm wondering if this might be a French oak, maybe.
Oh, French oak. Okay.
Maybe.
Do you get like drying characteristics when you drink something?
Yeah, it's a drying character, and it's a different type of tannin. I don't know. This doesn't feel. Oh, I don't know. I feel like this might be a French oak. It's definitely that drying mouthfeel that I typically get with French oak. It's enjoyable.
Okay. So you don't mind that one?
No, and so far all four of these have been very different profiles. They've all been distinctly different. I will say number 3, I like it the more I sip it. The first sip, I think the dryness of it kind of caught me off guard.
Okay.
But as my tongue's gotten accustomed to it, yeah, I like this.
All right. And I have noticed that sometimes I think I like something better than something else, and then I'll try it in a blind, and then they, it's because I got something residual from what I had before, and it either makes something better or worse. So, I guess there's that to account for as well. John Wayne says, Tom, I'll let you try my 3 Hemingway top shelvers, and we're at Evernorth next time. Oh, okay. I don't know that I've ever tried anything Hemingway. I think they are on the shelves here in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. First edition and the 2 picks. Cool.
The first edition was like 90% 9-year MGP 95.5, and then it was 10% 4-year Green River 95.5. But it was like $120 was the original release.
Okay. So speaking of Evernorth, I know that they purchased a pretty decent stock of some of the Green Barrel stuff, and I think a couple of different mash bills, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the single barrels that they put out, some of the best things I had last year. They were just amazing.
Yeah, Evernorth, and someone actually sent me a message last night asking about the light whiskey from Green River, which I have not had yet. I know
I didn't know they did one.
Yeah, it's a 91.9. Well, I don't know if they're not still doing it, but Jacob Cole did lay down some 91.9. But he laid down like 20 different whiskeys in those early days. But the light whiskey is not one that I've had yet.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have too many different light whiskeys in my collection. We did a pick last year at Evernorth that was a light whiskey that I think was an 18-year. It says, Tom, you picked one of the best Green River barrels out of Evernorth last year. Don't be humble. Yeah, we did have the privilege of picking some really good stuff last year at Evernorth. Thanks, Gary, for saying that. Gary may or may not have been a part of that. All right.
Are all 5 of these bourbons?
Let me see. No.
Okay, 5 I feel like might be a rye, and I feel like there might be some malted rye in that maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that might be a good amount of rye in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It kind of has a kind of a malted rye character to it.
So is it something that seems familiar or not really?
Perhaps. So this past weekend, I went with a local club to Circle City Whiskey in
I saw your post. Yeah.
And we tasted some barrels. Well, there were 3 barrels that we tasted at the very end. They were MGP, but they were the 49% rye, which is the Smoke Wagon used it for some stuff. There was some malted rye in it. And then I think it's what they also use for the Remus highest rye bourbon. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of giving me a little bit of flashback to some of that stuff.
Okay. To me, that last one is something that sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't know that there's anything that I would be able to compare it to, at least based on my memory.
Okay.
And I think if I was doing these blind, that might be the only one that I could probably pick out without, just throwing out random guesses.
It's a pretty distinct flavor, and it just it reminds me a lot of the 3 barrels that I tried on Saturday at Circle City. Not quite as potent as those, but there was one barrel in specifically that of the three, this kind of reminds me of a little bit.
Okay. So those of you that don't know Jacob, or maybe know that Jacob just runs an Instagram account, maybe dabbles in online whiskey reviews, maybe you're not sure if he's got a decent palate or not. I can tell you that he's nailed some of these pretty distinctively. So that's interesting for me to see. 'Cause I haven't really talked to you a whole lot. We've never shared a pour. So yeah, I'm definitely really impressed on some of the things that you're picking out in this lineup here, Jacob. Now that you've had a chance to kind of go through them all, do you have a favorite? You still stuck on that first one?
If I'm looking for just number 1 and 5 are my two favorites.
Okay.
I think one, if I'm looking for like just a classic, solid bourbon profile, it's number 1. If I'm looking for something that's good but unique, and it makes me stop and think, "Oh, what is that?" It might be number 5.
Okay.
What 1 and 5 are definitely my favorite two. I probably lean number 1.
Mhm.
Number 5 is also a lot of fun.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. It's unique. It's not your everyday pour. It's definitely interesting, but at the same time, it is really good when you get to it. At least in my opinion. As far as the things that these were, all right. So
Okay.
I'll come back to number 1. But the number 5 one was, you said it tastes like a rye, like a malted rye. Jacob, that's exactly what it was. If you can see this.
Okay. I had that this weekend too, oddly.
Did you?
So, one of the guys who was on the pick with me, maybe that's what I'm pulling. He pulled out of his car I guess it was the seal box selection of
Okay.
the New Holland, or
It's Walleye Run, which is
Walleye
New
Run,
Holland.
of the Walleye Run 7-year cask strength malted rye. Now the Remus one, that also has malted rye in it, I believe. But that's for those who haven't had malted rye, it just kind of has malting the rye just gets this nice, real floral lift, and that's what I was definitely picking up on, was that floral lift from the rye.
And not just this is a malted rye, obviously, but in addition, it's a pot stilled malted rye, which seems to me to kind of impart like a lot of fruitiness.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the note, the common note that a lot of us were getting on this one was like peach rings. And this is specifically the casting couch one. This is a pick that I was on last year with Dusty Dan. Hello again, whiskey friends. World's Worst Bourbon Channel in here in chat. Drifting Drams, Adam Shelton. I think that's everybody. Looking at the label, yeah, we had a blast last summer, but that was in the summer, right, Gary?
I love it too.
It.
Well, my family, we've started doing summer vacations over the last couple of years in Michigan, with like Southwest Michigan, staying in South Haven. So New Holland has the tasting room there. So I've dropped in. We were there this past summer, went in, and I was dead set on getting the 10-year Walleye Run American Single Malt. And that's what I got. But when I was in there, they also had the malted rye double oak. And I thought, okay, that's interesting too. I bought the single malt. Like, it's good. A little disappointed for the 10-year single malt, but then not long after, a friend of mine dropped off a sample of the malted rye double oak, and like, oh, I chose poorly. That double oak malted rye is ridiculous. I had a chance to buy that. I made the wrong purchase.
That's a tough call. I did have that 10-year single malt. I do like it. The characteristics are very similar across their product line to me. I do think that the of their core ones that you can find on the shelves here in Michigan, I think the double barrel or double oaked expression is probably my favorite. But I think that these single barrels at cask strength for this distillate is where it's at.
This is very good. Number 5, that walleye run. Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely.
And Brian's chiming in here. He says, grab a walleye run cigar batch. If you see one, you won't be disappointed with it. Now, that one is a little bit different because it does have just a little bit of amberana at the end. So it does play. I think it plays pretty well with the, the pot stilled single malt. It's an interesting pour, but maybe a little bit more polarizing perhaps than the double barrel Brian, in my opinion. But definitely an interesting pour. I've got a bottle of that, and that went almost. All right, so that was the one that you like, maybe the second best. So let's see some of these other ones. Okay, so here's one that I thought would be interesting to throw in, Jacob, and it is a Green River. I'm trying to get that to focus.
There you go. Single barrel.
It is a single barrel, and this is a single barrel from our local Total Wine.
Okay.
And this was the first Green River pick that I purchased.
Okay.
And I absolutely did not like it at all. I don't know if it's opened up a little bit. I haven't gone back to it. This bottle, I probably sampled out most of this. I just didn't like it at all. So when this was the first one I had, so my first impression on Green River is this maybe not something that I for too much. But as I did kind of try other single barrels, I was like, wow, this how is this even the same stuff? Maybe it just, the opinion I kind of reached was maybe Total Wine just doesn't have people that pick very good barrels.
It could be. So which one is that then?
It's the single barrel bourbon. It 62%, 124.2 proof. Just says Total Wine and more. There's not a whole lot else here to tell you. But I want to say I got this probably about 3-ish years ago.
Okay.
Definitely my least favorite of the bunch. And if there was one in here that I was curious to see that if you didn't like it, my guess is it was going to be this one.
So let's see. Where am I? Oh. So I don't know. Which are you sharing? Which one of the 5 that was?
This was number 3.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was. I don't know. It was a little too.
You said it was drying at first.
It was very dry.
Maybe it was the French. I just remember it being really earthy.
Definitely not one of my favorite Green River expressions. So oddly enough, my local Owensboro Bourbon Society, we got to do the very first Green River selection. Like we were the very first one. And I hated it. It was a group select. There were like 100 people who voted on these 4 barrels. Mm-hmm. And I swear to God, at the time, the group picked my least favorite at the time. And then it didn't get better. Like it is like one of the few Green River single barrels that I have legitimately just like, no, did not like it. This is one that it's okay. It's definitely a little more dry than what I typically prefer. Not one of my favorite Green River barrels. I feel like it's a pretty off-profile barrel as well.
Yeah, it doesn't taste anything like the other ones that I've got. It's definitely my least favorite. I just remember being like really earthy, muted, dull, maybe drying. Now that you've mentioned it, but definitely was not one of my more favorite bottles that I purchased, and probably put me off to that brand for a little while. Let's show you what number 4 was. Now, this was the one that you and I kind of had before we started the stream. Yeah. And I'll tell you why I picked it in just a minute. So you had some notes. You said this has got to be something aged down south where it's hot. So you were getting some type of vibes that maybe it wasn't that old, but maybe it was. You're getting a lot of
aged in a hotter climate.
All right. So here's what it is. It's an Evernorth label.
Okay.
And what this is this is a pick that we did last summer. This is the Sergeant Slaughter pick for those of you in the know. And what this is, Jacob, it's a 7-year wheated bourbon. And it's sourced from Southern Distilling.
Okay.
And that's in South Carolina.
Yep.
So you were right on the money as far as it being somewhere south. It did have maybe a little bit more age on it than maybe you were thinking. Um, but you were right on the money with it being
Well, and I
southern
thought it
down south.
didn't. Yeah, I mean, the color wasn't. I was expecting a deeper color with the tannin on this. So this is their Paragon? I mean, is this what part of their Paragon distillate, the
I
weeded bourbon?
believe so. And Marty, if you're still in here, is it Southern Star,
So
Paragon?
yeah, so Southern Distilling is the distillery, and then Southern Star
Is the
is the
label.
actual branding. Yeah.
Now, why I said it's something that maybe might be a little bit adjacent. I noticed that you just did a review on something that sounded really bizarre. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was the Zinfandel cask.
I've never heard of anything
And
like that.
so, and yeah, that was the thing. I honestly, I don't know offhand that I can think of another American whiskey that's been finished in Zin casks.
I
Um,
can't either. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
so now this makes a little more sense because, all right, so I've done things from Southern before, but I'm not sure I've ever straight up tasted a 7-year weeded bourbon, which the one I reviewed was the same base, but it was 4-year old base. Um, but noted that it was dry, and I assumed that most of that came from the wine cask because Carlisle vineyards in California, their Zin tends to be pretty dry. That all makes a lot more sense now. Getting to try this um, to go with that Zin, so this actually gives a whole nother appreciation for that Zin cask. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we didn't know what we were sipping through or what the barrel was that we were tapping at the time. I don't think any of us, or probably a good portion of us anyway, including myself, hadn't ever heard of Southern Distilling. So it kind of
So they're small. They're in Statesville. It's North Carolina, Statesville, North Carolina.
you're right. It is North
Yeah,
Carolina. Looking right at
sixty
the top.
percent, 60% of what they distill is for contract distillation. Um, One point in history, Statesville, North Carolina, was dubbed the liquor capital of the world. Kentucky may take issue with that, but a lot of tax paid liquor went through Statesville, North Carolina, in the late 1800s.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking South Carolina. Southern Distilling, maybe. I don't know. You're right. It is North Carolina. Um, so yeah, and then I like this so much, and I think this has actually changed quite a bit. I do remember it being a bit darker for some reason, and it was really sweet at first, like almost kind of like a root beer type of vibe to it, like a cola root beer ish vibe that a lot of us on the pick team really just fell in love with. But as it's opened up, I'm getting less of that and maybe more of the oak or barrel char like you had alluded to. So yeah, I thought that would be interesting. For two reasons. One, 'cause I don't think you've had this, but also I saw that you had recently reviewed something from that distillery. So uh,
We'll say I also reviewed a couple months ago. They did it was a 7-year bourbon. It's a rye based bourbon finished in a honey cask, and it is one of the best honey finished bourbons I've experienced.
from
It was
Southern.
it was Southern Star, yeah, and it was a 7-year rye based bourbon in what a 1-year finish in a local honey barrels, and it's probably one of the 5 best honey finished bourbons I've personally experienced. Um, if you can track one down, I would do it
Okay.
absolutely.
So I think, do you think that might be a brand that it's kind of on the upswing here, getting some
I
momentum?
I do. You know, I know people like their weeded bourbon, and they do
Mhm.
a bunch of different mash bills with the contract distillation. I like this. Like this is something I would enjoy. It is a drier to me a drier weeded bourbon, a little more oak, but it works.
All right.
I think they know what they're doing. Absolutely.
All right. So Marty says he doesn't like that one. Marty's actually local. He is not local to me, local to North Carolina. He's the one that sent me the Southern Star, their shelfer.
I think I read Marty's review of that.
Oh,
I don't know. I liked it. I don't know if we had the same batch or there's multiple batch. I don't know. I recall if we had the same batch or not, but I thought it hit really well.
All right. Well,
So,
here's the flip side of that. Irish Mac says Southern Star honey is amazing. So I guess it's either amazing or garbage or somewhere in the middle, I guess.
but at the end of the
I
day,
like
you know, it's all subjective. We all like different things. Absolutely.
one of the brands that's local to me, Detroit City Distilling, does I think a really nice honey finish. But
Are they good? I go
I I
I
think
love their
so, but
labels.
it's it's polarizing. I'll send out samples to some friends and they'll love it. I'll send it to others and they don't. So it's still relatively young. Um, I think their oldest stuff now is maybe 5 years or six, approaching six.
So a couple of years ago, and maybe 2 years ago, I posted a label from them, and at the
Hmm.
time, it was a ha ha ha. That's hilarious. And lately, like, oh, this makes more sense. It was a label. It was some tribute to the Detroit Lions, and the label said something about we're going to let this age, and we're not going to release it until the Lions win a Super Bowl.
Oh Jesus!
Now,
Yeah.
when that label came out, like the Lions were still a dumpster fire, and then all of a sudden, you know, they get this new coach in there, and like, you know, everyone's like, this is going to be a 30-year-old bourbon. They're gonna have to age this bourbon for 30 years.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, they get this new coach in here, and like they're really good all of a sudden. So it's like this may end up being a fairly young bourbon, you know. And I kind of looking back on that now, like I think that's kind of funny. You know, there's a real chance you guys can win the Super Bowl.
Is that what it was called, John Wayne? Was it called Grit? I don't know.
I, I
I
don't
don't
know.
remember that one in particular, but they do some one-offs. So I think the stuff that they do that's finished is pretty good. Specifically the honey, that's probably my favorite. They do uh, a whiskey that is finished in a toasted cherry barrel that I like, but I've sent bottles to other people that didn't. So it's, you know, maybe I have an inherent bias because I'm in Detroit.
Well, I posted one of their labels a couple of days ago. It was going to be finished in some kind of Polish style blackberry
uh,
liqueur brandy barrel.
Pucci. Yeah, that was a distillery only. I think it was a single barrel, but it was finished in like some sort of some bizarre Polish liquor that it was to coincide with Fat Tuesday, which here local is called, you know, Puchki Day. Um, I didn't try that one. It sounded interesting. The last experimental bottle that I got from Detroit City, I did not like at all, and it was a hot honey finished whiskey, which is no, it probably shouldn't have been bottled. Maybe it's something that you play with in a cocktail, but it's not a pour that I would recommend.
I've seen a couple of hot honey, like Sealbox actually posted or sent out an email today. I forget what it was, but it was a hot honey finished bourbon. Like I've seen that a few times lately.
Yeah, I would tread lightly. Try before you buy.
Fair enough.
At least based on my experience, I mean, you want to talk, you know, we are talking about bottles that we have that still like are 90% full. Yeah, that one probably is about 95% full.
You want to try it once, maybe not twice.
I had the sherry finished Bloody Butcher. It was pretty good. Cooper, you know, I only had the sherry finished rye. I thought it was okay. It was kind of heavy on the finish, in my opinion. But I think they, generally speaking, do pretty good finishes at Detroit City. But again, I'm probably a little bit biased. All right, so this one was the one that we tried, you know, before we kind of got streaming here. The last two, I'll save the one that you picked first last. I did actually throw another malted rye at you. And
Okay, so that's all right.
this,
That yeah, there
this is
was.
the one that we just did that was bottled just a couple of weeks ago. Again, I'm trying to get some angle on that. But that's the New Riff 6-year malted rye, single barrel, barrel proof. the first one to hit the market, as far as I understand. So I knew you hadn't had that one yet, and
That's the one you did with Brandon, is that right?
yes,
Or
yeah, yeah, that was a
yeah.
lot.
Change that. There was something different about that, and I was thinking, like, is this like a peated bourbon? What am I looking at here? There was definitely something different about it.
I do think it drinks closer to a bourbon than a rye for some reason.
Yeah, no, I like it. It was definitely one in a blind. It makes you pause and think. What is something is different about this. This
Yeah,
is definitely not a typical experience, and yeah, that's I've got a bottle of the, was it sherry finished
yeah.
malted rye
Oh, I
that I
love that.
like, but I've never tasted their just straight malted rye from New Riff.
Yeah, they do a 6-year malted rye at 100 proof. That's like one of their core range. That's generally pretty well reviewed. I think Fred Minnick was a big fan of it. I think it's good. Uh, I was really interested when they announced that they were going to do these as picks, and it was really cool that I got to do it with Brandon, and we were the first ones to. We weren't the first group to pick it. I think Sealbox was, but I think we got
Yeah,
ours bottled and into people's hands first.
I think Sealbox gets what they want. It seems like for
Uh,
good reason, I
I
guess.
they don't ship here, so I've never been a big Sealbox guy.
Fair enough. I'm excited. I actually got to go do a pick of Copper and Kings. We did 2 barrels actually a couple of weeks ago, and it's going to be on Sealbox. So I'm actually pretty damn excited about that.
So do you do a lot of picks?
Um,
It seems like it
a lot
recently.
of Green River picks. It's people come to Owensboro. We're doing a pick. You want to join us? If I can finagle it, sure. Yeah, I'll go. Outside of Green River, I haven't done a whole lot yet.
Okay.
So it was kind of fun to went to Copper and Kings in Louisville. Actually, it's brandy. This is not it, but this is their new labeling. So I got to do a 2 different barrels of brandy for Steelbox. I'm pretty stoked about that actually.
I think I got an email that they were putting those out pretty soon. So
The first one we did, we're looking at late March, early April. Is the first one we did. So it should be fun. It's going to be it's a apple brandy base 5 years that was finished for 7 years in a peerless rye barrel. So 12 years total.
it's
Be
a
a
lot
lot
of
of fun.
parts too. Definitely some interesting stops along the way for that one.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about the one that you picked as your favorite of the bunch.
Number 1.
Number one, okay, so again, it's an Evernorth
Right.
label, but it's Green River bourbon.
Okay. Okay, I feel good about that. I
Yeah,
feel
Homer.
good. I feel good that it was Green River this night. So let's ignore the one that you didn't like and let's just focus on this one.
Yeah, this was the one that I think Gary was mentioning it just a bit ago, that we picked one of the better ones that they had sourced. That's this one here. And for those interested, that's the one with Andre the Giant that we did last summer. 6 years, 74% corn, 16% rye, 10% malted barley. I know they do different mash bills. This is a little different.
Yeah. So green. So early on, like under the OZ Tyler days, Jacob Cole laid down a bunch of different mash bills. So that was you said the 74-16. You said.
Yeah.
So is this one. Same mash bill. Yeah, this is the same mash bill. Now with this Western Kentucky, Jacob Call, he's bottling that mash, and he's also bottling the standard Owensboro mash bill, the standard Green River mash. They call it OSB, our standard bourbon. But yeah, so I mean, we're seeing a whole bunch of these random Green River mashes that are showing up right now. This is really good. This is I like
this. A lot of them are just amazing too. I think you mentioned that you were getting some really. Did you say like some good sweet notes up front?
Yeah, this is a sweet bourbon. I like this. It's sweet.
So this was named Andre the Giant's Cherry River. I think the impetus was that it was very cherry forward, at least when we kind of first got our hands on it. It might have kind of rounded out a little bit, but I still get a pretty good amount of cherry on that one.
You gotta like getting an L on the finish. Like there's like a twinge of like that cherry cough syrup, but it's not super mentholy. But yeah, that's really good. And honestly, I'm not sure I've had this mash bill at cask strength outside of Western Kentucky Distilling, what they've bottled. So it's fun to see that this stuff is showing up all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, literally last year, every store that was local had a Green River pick. Every pick group or whiskey group that I participate in had at least one Green River pick. So they were just all over the place. But yeah, so it's kind of cool to see some have different mash bills. So there is a little bit of nuance there.
Well, and that's the interesting part when you've got bottlers like Evernorth, and you're getting well-aged stuff from Kentucky right now, and just having a mash bill and having distilled in Kentucky, I mean, good luck figuring it out at first, because countless distilleries in Kentucky are making all these random mash bills. There was a day when distilled in Kentucky, sourced, it was Heaven Hill or Barton. We're definitely far beyond that now. I've got a bottle from a certain very prominent bottler, and it's the Brown Forman Woodford Old Forester mash, but it's Buffalo Trace. Like, Buffalo Trace distilled it. Good luck figuring that stuff out.
What would you call that? Some clever nickname?
I don't know. I don't think we've had a clever. I don't think there's a nickname for it yet. Buff Forester or no? Yeah, Buff Forester. I don't know.
Buff Daniels.
But, yeah, there you go. But I mean, yeah, it's like there's so much random stuff out there, and a lot of it's hitting good age now. Absolutely.
Buff Forester. There you go. All right. So yeah, there you have it. I thought that one might be up your alley,
and it was.
So
I'm gonna make sure to text Karen, the brand ambassador, tonight to be like, "Look, I did a blind. My favorite was definitely a Green River distillate. Just want you to know that." May text Jacob Call too. Definitely better than Brown Trace. You pin that one. That's good comment.
You put a clever label on it, Gary, it'll sell.
But yeah, that was great. Number one, definitely my favorite. I feel good that came out of my hometown.
There you go.
Ignore the other one that you didn't care for so much.
Are all the 100% malted rye new riff bottle? Yeah, Christopher, those are all gone. It was the one that we did. Christopher's actually ended up being a short barrel, and it was split between Brandon's group and my group, and they went relatively quickly. I do think that everybody in both groups had the chance to buy one. So there's that. But yeah, they're all gone now. I know Mash and Journey just picked one. Sealbox did one. So there's going to be a good bit of these, I think, coming through the pipeline. But this particular bottle is gone. Old Buffalo. Right. Sounds something that you might see. Gary, yeah, I think Brown Trace is probably the leader in the clubhouse there. So I don't know if I asked you this, but as far as we talked about the big things coming out this year that you mentioned, the Four Roses. Anything that might be under the radar, like maybe that might be something that people are going to be able to find on shelves that isn't going to be, the Wild Turkey Limited for $400 that you.
I don't know. I'm struggling to think at the moment anything that I think is going to be really, really good that should be readily available. I mean, honestly, I'm really, maybe it's already out, but I'm really hoping that Green River rolls out a good amount of that foolproof weeded. I think if this had worked out a month ago when we tried this, I saw it, that was my answer. That was the answer that I had
when it was coming
for that question. I knew it was coming. Like I knew it was getting ready to drop. No, definitely not Traveler. Definitely not. That was perhaps the shelfie that I was most excited about.
And I
was
think
the
that's what appeals to me is the fact that it's gonna be a shelfie.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't like trying to hunt bottles or, go on secondary. I wanna just walk into a store and find something without too much effort.
Well,
Uh,
and why I like the Green River Foolproof Weeded is, I've got three of the single barrel weeded, but like I kind of ration them because in 2025 they only released 100 barrels nationwide, all accounts. Now that the foolproof weeded is going to be a regularly distributed thing, I can actually drink my single barrels because I can replace the high proof weeded.
yeah, I had one from last year that was really good. I just got a new one. I actually thought it was a bottle I won on a stream or something, and I thought it
Mhm.
was the full proof. So I was gonna crack it and do a review, and then I got to it. I was like, "Oh, this is a single barrel." So it's not what I thought it was. I ended up not cracking it yet, but I will soon. But yeah, the foolproof weeded stuff from Green River, at least based on what I did have, I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking.
5 to 7 years old. And what's fun about those is they're barrels that dropped in proof. Most of Green River stuff, are higher proof barrels, and they went with barrels that they fell in proof, which is
That's
fun.
odd, right? But as far as a brand goes, I love the fact that it's widely available. It's very budget friendly, and in a hobby where things get out of control with things being allocated and hard to find, and limited editions being insanely priced. I like finding something that's just solid that you can walk into the store and get and not have to fuss. It's just there.
Well, and in a market where, the economy and people cutting back, like a lot of these brands went artificially high with prices. I feel like Green River positioned their initial pricing what it should be. I mean, the standard, I don't know where for here it's $35. A single
Mhm.
barrel, $60. I
Right.
feel like, $60, that's a good value for $60, I feel like.
Yeah, I think the single barrels at 60-ish dollars are some of the best bargains out there. Um, Eagle 10 isn't even a shelfer here. Yeah, you're right. Randall said he thought 12-year Eagle Rare was going to be a shelfer, but no. I still haven't seen that anywhere. I rarely see Eagle Rare 10 anymore. Marty, got to bail. See you all after the stream. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up here momentarily. I am going to do a couple of giveaways, and they're for our Patreon group for the month of February. And what we do in our Patreon group is every month we do a bottle giveaway and a sample flight giveaway. And we did get a few new members this past month when we did the pick. So some of you guys are watching. Uh, that's how we do things. Tyler, if you're watching, are you there, buddy? If not, I can. Okay. Tyler, why don't you pull up the wheel for the sample giveaway? We'll do the sample one first. All right. All right. And for those of you that are new, the sample giveaway, every Patreon member has the same odds of winning the flight sample. So whether you're in the dollar tier or the $20 tier, you have the same odds. The bottle giveaways are weighted more towards the people in the higher tiers. But for the samples, everybody has equal chance. Let's give it a spin, see who's going to get a flight here, Ty. And we've got Christopher Sorrell. All right, Christopher, I will get with you and I'll put together a nice flight for you. Chris is local, so I think he gets a lot of the same things I do. So I'm going to have to kind of do a little homework and pick out some things that maybe you don't have. But I will be in touch with you, sir. And the bottle giveaway. So those of you that are curious, here's what we're going to be giving away this month, last month rather. And it is the Dragon's Milk Origin Bonded, which is their bottled and bond bourbon. These were 5 years and 100 proof. I don't know if this still has a 5-year age statement. the readers, and I don't have them. I think it's a 5-year age statement. If not, it's 4, but they're bottled in bond, which is kind of like a step up from their base, which is a 95 proofer. It has just a little bit more oomph to it. So let's quick shuffle, Tyler, and let's give away a bottle of New Holland Dragon's Milk Origin Bonded.
That wheel is trippy.
I know, right? We've got George K. George, one of the newer members that joined just a few weeks ago. He's going to get himself a bottle. So, George, I'll get in touch and we'll get this out to you, buddy. I think we're going to wrap up there. And for those of you that are still watching, what we're going to be doing here now, Jacob, one of the brands that I think is going to be exploding this year is McBriar.
Okay.
We are actually going to hop over to another channel, and we are picking a single barrel of the Judge, which is kind of like their flagship.
Yeah.
So for those of you in chat that are still watching, this is going to be on the Legends of the Oak channel, which is something of a new animal. Tyler, are you able to put a link there? Anybody able to put Marty, if you're still here? Nope, he's not. Check out Legends of the Oak. You'll see us. We'll be picking with Bill McBriar, and this is going to be the third one that we're doing from their stock. They have a pretty extensive lineup of bourbons in their outfit. So this is the one I think we're most excited about. This is the flagship. So if you're interested, come hang out. I think we're going to be doing some giveaways of the samples that we've got as well. Here we go. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. There's the link for anybody interested. Jacob, thank you again for hanging out. This was really interesting for me. If nobody else liked it, I did.
I had fun. Thanks for having me on.
I still feel like there's a lot of questions I had in my head that I didn't get to, but we did a little bit of that. We did a little bit of background. We did a little bit of stuff coming out. Got to know you a little bit, and I really enjoyed having you on. And
absolutely,
again at some point if you'd be up for it.
Absolutely, I'm always happy to do it again. Just let me know.
All right, appreciate you, brother. And for all of you guys that checked us out, appreciate you stopping by. And until next time, cheers. Thanks for watching. Stay jerky.